that the passenger has a very low risk or a zero risk of having the virus. But we didn't just stop there. Because someone having this negative test along the line of traveling to this country, even within 24 hours, can pick the virus anywhere, including the plane, in the plane. That is why we are having another test when you get to Ghana. And we are very confident that this double testing would ensure that the risk of anybody importing the virus here will be close, in fact, closest to zero. And that is also very reassuring. Let me quickly take the opportunity to say that two things are of prime importance. One, sensitivity of the test. There are all kinds of tests globally. Some actually tell you that the fellow has been exposed to the virus, but they don't tell you whether the fellow at the time of testing has the virus. We went for a testing regime that has a very high sensitivity rate. In fact, average 99 to 100%, so that nobody slips through the testing that we are doing. And then secondly, we were very much interested in time, what we refer to as the turnaround time. How long would it take you to get the results? In certain countries, you have to do a test, wait 1 to 6 hours before the results come. The good news is that this testing regime would give you results maximum within 30 minutes, minimum in about 12 to 15 minutes. So really, it will not add additional time to the time you spend going through immigration and all the procedures before you step out. And so we are happy with the sensitivity level, that's the specificity and the turnaround time. And I think with these two things, we as a ministry and for that matter government were comfortable to allow the Ghana Airport Company Limited, Civil Aviation, Port Health, and for that matter Ghana Air Service to come together and allow for the reopening. What I can also add is that the infrastructure to allow for taking of samples in a safe environment has also been put in place. This will be my initial comments for now. Subsequently, questions will allow us to address any issues that you have. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Thank you. That's Dr. Bernard Okoboy, Deputy Minister responsible for health. So what are the specifics once you get to Ghana? I want to invite Mr. Kwakwa, who is the Acting Managing Director of the Ghana Airport Company Limited, to outline what the specifics are for international travelers once you get to Ghana.
Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, colleagues, Chief Executives, Senior Management Officials, and staff of ministries and agencies, members of the media. I would like to take this opportunity to add my voice to the measures that the nation, including Ghana Airports Company, has put in place to ensure that we do not import the virus into the nation, and also to help that we do not make the airport a place for getting the virus. But the first question is that, did we have a choice? The answer is no, because passengers coming into Ghana drives our key revenues. We also have the mission of becoming the center of aviation business in West Africa. So we are always looking for avenues to separate ourselves from the airports in Africa, especially in our sub-region. And therefore, we did not have a choice at all. And because of that, some of us were turned into doctors, epidemiologists, and working with our colleagues from the health ministry, the government, to make sure that we can get an excellent system solution in place. Because to do so, we needed to put in place measures that would also make it easy, convenient, and appropriate for our passengers or for people to want to come to Ghana. Because we also realize that aviation is a driver of the economy. If people do not come here, the hotels suffer. If people do not come here, our colleagues who drive the taxis, the restaurants and so forth, they also suffer. So we see it as our responsibility to help grow the economy of Ghana and once again become the center of aviation business by putting in place these structures to make it easy for people to come to Ghana. So what did we do? We had the opportunity to open our domestic airlines or our domestic operations first. And we were the first in Africa to do so. We were the first in Africa to shut our airline business and to restart it. By so doing, the entire Africa was looking at the measures that we put in place. I'm happy to say that the measures were so successful that we became the airport of choice for people to study when they want to reopen their borders. And therefore, the general measures that we needed to put in place to make sure that our passengers, our staff, and the general public will feel safe and will not contract the virus at the airport, we have a bit of control over it, a fair amount of control over those measures. However, coming to the international stage, whereby we are seen as a major importer of the disease into the nation, we needed to do a bit extra, and therefore, all those measures were enhanced. And so I'll talk a bit about that later. But specific to why I'm standing before you is a key measure that we put in place to make sure that we do not import the virus into the nation. Once again, I'm happy to say that working with our Port Health and the Ministry of Health people, we managed to get the excellent testing system that the Honorable Minister just spoke about. That system, when it says you are positive, it means you have the virus. And as you heard, the accuracy is around 95%, 99 to 100%. But the next question was, how do we put in place the measures to make sure that it is convenient for passengers to go through the protocols, the processes, to get tested and then flow through the terminal building like they did before? Very soon, we will show you images, not today, because we are still disinfecting the place and we cannot even take you around. But when someone arrives in Ghana, it is mandatory for any airline coming to Ghana to ensure that passengers have face masks on. But we know that some of our people will be coming from afar. If you are traveling from London, you probably travel like 6 hours. And so when you land at Kotoka Airport and you come through the passenger boarding bridge, when you get to the edge of entering the terminal building, we give you a fresh face mask. Under the responsibility and control of Port Health, there's a service provider who we are using to do all of this. So we give you the face mask and then you start going through the process. When you enter, you go to the far end of one side of our fingers at the upper arrival, and then you queue to go through a payment center. By the way, the testing is going to be at the expense of each passenger at a cost of $150. Now, one convenience that the Honorable Minister says talking about was the fact that there's no country, there's no country that you can almost go through the terminal building like you used to do and still be able to get your results, and if you are negative and the health professional deem you to be without the virus to come into the country, is Ghana. We are the first to do so. In Germany, it takes minimum 3 hours to even get that done. And so, like His Excellency indicated yesterday, it takes a maximum of 30 minutes for a particular passenger to go through the entire process, get to Port Health, and there at Port Health, that person is told, because the results will be ready, that he is negative, and therefore he can exit the terminal building and come into the country. If you are positive, like the Honorable Minister just said before me, you go through our medical protocols in the nation, and they'll deal with you. And so that system is so convenient that passengers will practically go through our terminal building with only a fraction of time added to what they used to do before. Okay. Now, the general measures that I spoke about includes the measure that anyone who comes into our facilities would have to wear a face mask. Within Ghana, we put in the measure that everyone should wear their face masks. I have to put mine off so that you can hear me. That's why I'm don't write it down. You do so at the departure hall. We will have people there to ensure that if you don't have the face mask, you cannot enter. It's not just going to be a sign. There will be enforcement at the frontage of our terminal building, at our departure terminal building. Also, Port Health is going to screen you. And in all our facilities, there will be markers on the floor to help users of the airport to social distance. So similarly, during the arrival process, in addition to all these fine processes that we've defined, there will be markings on the floor for people to follow and to safely social distance themselves to prevent the spread of the virus before the test comes out, and even after the test comes out, because there will be other agencies working within the terminal building. Other measures that we have also put in place is the provision of sanitizing stations at the entrance and at other vantage points throughout our facilities to make it easy for passengers and users of the airport to sanitize their hands so that they do not propagate the virus. We have also installed sling shields at every service point. I believe you will get the opportunity to take you through our facilities so that you can see this for yourself. In addition to the sanitizing stations at various vantage points, we also have sanitizers at each service point. So any point that a service provider, airport staff, be it customer service, will be to offer service to the traveling public or anyone who has business in the terminal building, there will be a sanitizer there to allow that individual to disinfect their hands before and after, if he so desires, if he so feels it is appropriate. In addition to that, there will be regular disinfection of our facilities to make sure that if there happens to be any virus somewhere, that virus will be killed. Now, to the general public, because social distancing is a good measure against the spread of the virus, we are going to be limiting the people that we would allow to enter our terminal building. And therefore, if you don't have any business in the terminal building, you will not be allowed entry. If you are traveling, or if you are accompanying somebody who is not that well and that person needs assistance, we would allow it. Other than that, you will not be allowed. Another measure is that we are not allowing pets to accompany their owners on flights anymore. And we also encourage online check-in to reduce the contacts at the airport. And last but not the least, passengers are advised to arrive at the airport at least 4 hours before their scheduled flight. I believe you understand it, because there will be various checks to make sure that you are following the various protocols to safeguard the spread of the virus. With this, I thank you very much for your patience and listening. Thank you.
That is Mr. Kwakwa. He is the acting managing director of the Ghana Airport Company Limited. As you heard him mention, you would have the opportunity to go through a test to be supervised by Port Health. Port Health is a unit or a department under the Ghana Health Service. I would like to invite Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje to speak briefly to the testing regime, and then specifically what happens or what is the case management protocol should somebody test positive. And just to clarify, Mr. Kwakwa is the substantive managing director at the Ghana Airport Company Limited. So, Dr. Baji.
Thank you very much. All honorable ministers, presidential advisor, I'll be brief and walk you through the protocols. The overarching objective of this is to reduce the transmission of the virus to passengers, travelers, and staff. And most importantly, to limit the importation of the virus into the country. So as has been mentioned, the general mandatory rules will be: 1, mandatory face mask by all persons accessing the Kotoka International Airport, including the car parks, among other places. Enforcement of the social distancing protocols, and lastly, the mandatory hand hygiene, as using alcohol-based sanitizers to be able to wash your hands. For arriving passengers, as has been mentioned, you will need to come in with a negative PCR test taken at most 72 hours before you travel into the country. Ghanaians who travel for a meeting that returns in less than a week or within a week will be exempted from having to come in with a negative PCR test, and that's very important for people to know. There's also a digitized